In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to make pop music, kind of like a trendy modern vibe that you would hear on the radio nowadays. And to do that, I remade Not My Fault by Reneé, Rapp, and Megan Thee Stallion. And I'll break down my remake of the song's elements, the sounds of those elements, the mixing, the structure and arrangement, all that jazz. And hopefully by the end of this tutorial, you can make a song in a similar pop style to this one. I also have a little pink theme going on over here because, you know, it's a Wednesday when I'm recording this, and on Wednesdays, we wear pink. Set the tempo around 124 BPM. Start off by making some muffled chords. It's literally just the same two chords repeating. And if you need any help with creating chords, the legacy version of chord.com is a great tool to help you with that. All you have to do is select your key, generate it, and it will give you some chords, and you can hover over them, play them, and see the notes in them. And for the sounds of these chords, I used a Rhodes preset from Flex. I took the cutoff and I turned it down a considerable amount to give it a more muffled feeling. A horns preset from Flex, and then 3 vital presets from MHA's Vital Sound Banks. Here's the first one, the second one, and the third one down here. So these 3 synth presets right here are very airy and atmospheric type synth presets, and then these are obviously just a horns preset and then a Rhodes preset. For the mixing, I have a EQ on here, which to help with the muffledness, I took the highest frequency over here and I just turned it down like this, really eliminating those higher frequencies to make it more muffled. And then I have a sidechain over here, it's the general just sidechain of all the elements of the track. An OTT just to kind of amplify the chord sound and then give it a little bit more depth. Next, take the bass notes from those chords and chop them up into a rhythm. Some tips that I could give you for some extra flavor in your bass lines is to do this little pitch bend thing with the note down here. And instead of just having the notes play all on the same note like this, you could experiment around with changing the note here and there, make it a little less boring in the mix, but don't do too much because you don't want it to sound too busy and overwhelming. Simple little note changes like this are really good. The pitch bend like that. I used 4 flex bass presets to accomplish this sound. I used this one over here as well, this one, and this one. So the first 3 are really just soft acoustic sounding basses, and then the last one's more like a slap bass, still very much on the acoustic side of things. And then for mixing, I just have the same sidechain, and then a Fruity Blood overdrive on here, nothing done to it, just a preset thrown in here for some extra amplification and a tiny bit of distortion on there as well. Next, take the chords and make an ARP out of them. The way I created the ARP is I just went up to the wrench over here and clicked on arpeggiate, and then I was given this, and the ARP sounds like this. And the sound that I use is a clarinet preset from Flex. And the main purpose of this ARP is just to fill up the mix. It's not really to stand out or anything. You're not really going to hear it in the final result. It's just to fill up the mix and keep the rhythm going. Same sidechain from earlier and a Fruity Blood overdrive on here. Again, just to elevate the sound a little bit. What you could also do is add a little trumpet here and there. And I used a staccato trumpet preset from Flex. And we'll get into this more on the structure portion, but as you see, I just threw that in here along with all the other elements. Now for the drums. I have a kick. Make sure it's very punchy and disco sounding. I have a snare. Very like synthwave / disco sounding, kind of like that retro feel. I have a little loop in the background. I have a clap. I have a hi-hat playing as well. It's in between every kick and snare, as you hear like this. I have another disco sounding drum loop just in the background to make the drums more full and kind of stand out a little more. I have a crash, and I have a cowbell loop as well. And all together, the drums sound like this. And the only mixing that I did to all of the drums is a Fruity Blood overdrive on here, just with the filter turned up a little bit just to eliminate some of the harsher high-end frequencies. But this really helps to amplify the overall sound of the drums. Now for the structure and arrangement of this track. So this part over here can really count for any verse or bridge or anything like that leading up to the chorus. And this is the chorus all right here. As you see, I put a little break, instrumental break, in between that. So for any verse, bridge, whatever, I have the chords playing with a filter just to make it a little more muffled and a little less noticeable. The filter comes up so that you could hear the chords more in the chorus. The bass line as well. The kick, clap, and snap. I have a snap here as well. It's just basically a stripped down version of the drum loop that sounds like this. So yeah, everything on this side is just very minimal and stripped down. Then we have a little effects riser leading up to the instrumental break. Then we have this break right here, and then this is the chorus over here where you bring everything in all together. We have the chords, the bass, the arp, the full drum loop with a little downlifter as well. Kind of ease into the chorus a little more along with the crash. It's very quiet, you don't really hear it, but it's there. Later on, just to fill it up and give it some extra texture, I have that trumpet loop from earlier. It just really adds some texture and flavor to the overall track. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So without further ado, here's the final result.